Time, I would like to introduce fellow Vietnam veteran Diane Carlson Evans, whose vision, hard work, and determination brought about the Vietnam Women's Memorial, which is behind you. Ladies and gentlemen, Diane Evans.
Thank you, Jan. If I may, since Air Vice Marshal Kim Osley is here and his remarks, 19 Australian nursing sisters who served in Vietnam during the Vietnam War came here in 1993 to stand beside their sisters, American sisters, who had served in Vietnam. And they were so appreciated and so welcomed, and we went to the Australian Embassy, and the warmth and the love and the care and the concern that was there, because we, Vietnam nurses, cared for the Aussies. I was stationed my first half of the year at the 36th Evacuation Hospital on the South China Sea. And the hospital, the Australian hospital, I don't think the Australians recognized or realized that there would be so many injured and wounded. So the overflow. So we got these Aussie soldiers into our hospital, and one word out of their mouth, and we knew where they were from. And I don't care how sick they were, how wounded we were, or how much morphine they had a sense of humor, and they wanted a cold beer. And they wanted every one of us American nurses could go down to the beach and party with them when they got out of the hospital. Go Australia. They were wonderful young men, and I attended the 1994 dedication in Canberra of their Vietnam Memorial, which is really powerful, profound, and beautiful. And I found the one name, Barbara Black, who served in Vietnam, their only nurse who died as a result of the war. Barbara Black's name is on a wall at the Canberra War Memorial, etched in bronze. As war fades from memory, so do the sacrifices of those who fought it. On Veterans Day, we grasp the significance of the millions of men and women who served before us, who served with us, and the generation returning home today. We try to remember each of these generations, wartime and peacetime, and comprehend their achievements and appreciate the enormity of their contributions to our country. The Vietnam generation leaves a memorial as a testament to the American spirit. This memorial galvanized a nation to honor those moments of sacrifice, hours of hardship, days of courage, and years of service, of men and women no different than the millions before them or after them or today. The Vietnam Women's Memorial leaves its legacy of women veterans' stories now being written into American consciousness. These stories shine a light on the names etched here and on the thousands of those who survived. They provide a glimpse into a historical experience all too often eclipsed from American memory. Quote, "I care for each as though my brother, no time to cry, must tend to another and another. Time has passed, and I still recall your courage, your struggle, and your fall. Rest in peace, your war now done. How brief your life as the setting sun." Written by Helen D. Crane Roth, U.S. Navy nurse, USS Sanctuary, 1969, South China Sea. Today I'm honored to introduce one of the veterans the Vietnam Women's Memorial represents. A woman who joined the Army as a student nurse in 1969 and whose brother's life was as brief as the setting sun. He had been killed in Vietnam in 1966. 3 years later, she received her orders to study nursing at Walter Reed Army Medical Center. Graduating in 1973, at which time she was commissioned into the Army Nurse Corps. She went on to serve for 23 years. Currently an employee of a healthcare accreditation organization, she is dedicated to the quality care and safety of patients, just as she had been in her career as an Army nurse. Today she lives in Fort Peck, Montana, and works for the Joint Commission as a nurse surveyor. Please welcome Lieutenant Colonel Connie Schultz.
General McCaffrey, Air Vice Marshal Osley, honored guests, friends, and most importantly, veterans. Although I have visited this memorial many times in my past, my attentions are normally to the names on the wall and the memorials on the rise. I never thought at those times that I would ever be standing here giving thanks to America's veterans. Before I go on, there's one group of people I need to recognize. My brother was a member of the 173rd Airborne Brigade, and I learned today that they are here having their reunion. And I would like all of the 173rd to please rise, and so we can recognize them. Where are you? I want to thank Diane for giving me this opportunity. As soon as I get my notes back, sorry.
She might have to wing it.
To share this very significant tribute to our veterans. March 16th, 1966 changed my life forever. It was on that day my family was notified of the death of my brother, Kenneth Max Knutson, who was a member of the 173rd Airborne. He was killed in action and subsequently awarded the Silver Star for heroism. It had been just over 3 weeks that he had said goodbye to us. He was off to war. He left for war just days after the burial of a young Marine, friend, and actually eventually became my brother-in-law. It was my husband's brother, as he gave his life for his country. On March 16th, 1966, my mother became a Gold Star mother with Max's death. At 91, her wish had been to be here today one more time to honor her son. She sends her blessings, but just didn't feel she was up to the trip. I wish to dedicate this moment in time to her. As I prepared for this day, I found myself reflecting on Max and Dan, their lives and how their deaths impacted my life and my decision to serve in the military. As a high school student, I was determined to serve. My lifelong dream was to be a nurse. Why not be a nurse in the Army or the military? On September 9th, 1969, I made that commitment to serve as I enlisted in the Army as a selectee to attend an Army nursing program, the Walter Reed Army Institute of Nursing. My role models at that time became those Army nurses who had served in Vietnam and now were teaching me how to become one of them. I graduated from nursing school in June of 1973, at which time I was commissioned in the Army Nurse Corps. It was too late. I never got the chance to serve in that war, for in January of 1973, the ceasefire agreement was signed. As a student at Walter Reed Army Medical Center and as an Army nurse at subsequent tours, I did serve those that had been to war, witnessing the hurt, emotionally and physically seen on those veterans that returned home. As an Army nurse, I dedicated my career to the motto, to preserve the fighting strength. My career as an Army nurse was spent training for war, but most importantly, working to keep the fighting strength healthy, alongside of those nurses that had served in Vietnam. I cared for those who not only were serving, but those who had served in wars and those who served in support of those who went to war. Being a veteran is not only about dying for our country or serving in a war-torn lands. The value of a veteran should not be measured where we serve, but how. There will always be eras, measures of time significant to military events that we celebrate as veterans. The Vietnam War, the Cold War, the Gulf War, Iraq, and Afghanistan. The Vietnam era is very significant to the Vietnam Women's Memorial, for it honors all women who served their country during the Vietnam War. I stand here today representing the Vietnam era veteran, and more specifically, a woman Vietnam era veteran. I was one of 265,000 women who served during the Vietnam War. I stand here today to honor all of the 1.8 million women who have served their country and those that continue to serve. Women comprise approximately 20% of today's military, active duty and reserve, and will eventually join the roles of the U.S. military veteran. The woman veteran looks very different from when I joined the Army. Roles and responsibilities have been opened up to embrace the capabilities of women who serve. The Vietnam Women's Memorial is an example of the significance of monuments and memorials that we see today. It is there not only to honor and remember, but also to educate our future generations and continue to be an inspiration to many women serving today. The Vietnam Memorial, which the Vietnam Women's Memorial is a part, speaks not only for the dead, but also for the living and all of those who served during the turbulent times. For my husband and I, our military service is in a sense a memorial, joining the service in memory of our brothers who did give the ultimate sacrifice during the Vietnam War. Our memories of them and our conviction to serve our country honorably carried us through our military service. I stand here today to honor all who have served and continue to serve as we again are involved in a war bigger than the Vietnam War. During my travels this past year, I've had the honor to see medical care of the veterans firsthand through visits to veterans hospitals, Army, Navy, and Air Force hospitals. I've had the honor to visit with and shake the hands of those who have served in some capacity. It never fails to bring a tear or a lump in my throat as I see the pride of those veterans who say to me, "We were just doing our job." We all carry on our daily lives, rarely hesitating to consider what it means to be a veteran. It is an honorable title that we carry each and every day. It is a title to be celebrated and a role that begs us to embrace all of the new veterans. Today is a day of celebration as a veteran, a day to recognize and be recognized. For those of you in attendance today that are not veterans, please take a moment to reflect on what veterans mean to you. How important this reflection is to our veterans. Never miss the chance to thank a veteran. I would like all of the veterans in the audience to please stand and accept my salute to you and your service for our nation. Would you please stand? Thank you, good luck, and Godspeed.
Thank you for those inspiring words. Greatly appreciated. We also have noted that we have some people here on active duty, so we'd like for them to wave so we can point them out to everyone. People are talking to friends and honor and we also have some military veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan, if you could stand up here. You're always welcome here. I'm very much assist the Iraq-Afghanistan Veterans Group time to time, and ultimately, when the time is right for their memorial, I'll be one of their advisors, I'm sure. We want to thank the many people who are a part of today, organizations, Sons and Daughters in Touch. The American Legion is here, AMVETS, Disabled American Veterans, Military Order of the Purple Heart, non-commissioned officers, paralyzed veterans. Rolling Thunder is here today. VFW, Vietnam Veterans of America, joining us, as well as the Museum Resource Center, which houses some of the 150,000 items that have been left at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. Basically, 3 times as many items have been left at the memorial as there are names of the memorial. So it's quite a sociological phenomenon, and this will be part of the Education Center across the street. We also want to thank members of our corporate council, Bill Dyke, Marty Irving, Bill Cooper, Bill Murdy, and a new member of our board directors, Judy Bishop, who is joining us today, as well as our board members, John Dibble, George Mayo, Janice Narr, Carrie Robinson, John Woods. Welcome as well to the students of the Eagle Academy of Egg Harbor Township, who are with us here today. Where are you all? Like high school, middle school? Okay, yeah. Well, thanks for coming. We want to thank the Veterans Advisory Board for the Verizon Corporation. They passed out the little American flags and POW flags that we have. Now, here's a great thing that's going to happen right now, because Kara O'Brien, beautiful young lady here, she's a great singer and is a professional entertainer, was able to carve some time out of her busy schedule, and she's going to sing for us.
God shed his grace on thee.
was quite impressive, I must say. Well, Peter Holt was going to be here to introduce our next speaker. He's a very dynamic Vietnam veteran, owns a team called the San Antonio Spurs, but couldn't make it, got tied up in business. So instead of Peter, we're going to have John Dibble, Chairman of the Board of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund Board of Directors. He's going to do the introduction, and John served with the Navy in Vietnam and now practices law in Washington, D.C. And no, Washington attorneys are not on the endangered list. They are all over the place, but he is one of the better ones.
Thank you, Jan. I'm very proud to introduce this afternoon's keynote speaker. A native of the area, Michael Heisley was born in Washington and grew up in Alexandria, Virginia, just across the river. He graduated with a bachelor's degree from Georgetown University, where he now, subsequently served on the board of directors, regents, and visitors for over 20 years. In 1979, he founded the Hyco Companies, which is based in Chicago, and owns and operates approximately 40 businesses worldwide within a diverse set of industries. Mr. Heisley serves as Chief Executive Officer of several of the company's subsidiaries. Mr. Heisley also is a majority owner of the NBA Memphis Grizzlies. I'm glad Peter wasn't here. We'd have two NBA team owners fighting each other. And he serves on the board of directors of the Heisley Family Foundation, which has pledged $2.5 million to the Education Center at the Wall. Mr. Heisley has been deeply touched by the Vietnam War in ways that I know that he'll explain in his comments. He and his wife, Agnes, have also devoted their personal time and resources to honoring members of our veterans community. We're very grateful to have Mr. Heisley with us here today.
Thank you. This is a very special day. First, I'd like to say it's a special day for me. It gives me a chance to do something that I've wanted to do for many, many years. And that is to thank the veterans personally for all that you've done for me, my family, my friends, and everyone I know. You basically have kept us safe, you've kept us free, you've kept us with the benefits we get from this wonderful country. Today is a very special day set aside to honor a very special group of people. Only a small percentage of our nation's citizens serve in the armed forces. And they protect the freedoms that we all enjoy. On this day, we turn our attention to the selfless individuals and say thank you. It takes an exceptional kind of person to serve in the armed forces. As a service member, you must put your own needs second to those of your country. You must display courage and honor in situations fraught with danger. You must stand as an example of what is best in the United States for people around the world. And you must always do what is right, even when also what is right is very, very dangerous. Not everyone is cut out for this life, but we all benefit from the efforts of those extraordinary individuals who willingly put on the uniform of the United States Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard. To all of them, past and present, I send out my heartfelt thanks. I cannot think about America service members without thinking of my good friend, Rocky Versace. We were boys together growing up near Alexandria, Virginia. Although our lives took on diverse paths, we remained very, very close through the years. Meeting when we could and writing when we were apart. Rocky went to West Point and then served in Korea and 2 tours of duty in Vietnam. On the last night of his leave, before he returned to his second tour of duty in Vietnam, Rocky dined with me and my wife Agnes in our small home in Alexandria, Virginia. At dinner, we talked about the future, our hopes and dreams. He told us that after the tour was over, he was planning to leave the service. He wanted to become a priest in the Maryknoll Order and stay in Vietnam to work at an orphanage that he had helped build and support while he was in that war-torn country. He deeply felt and loved the children of Vietnam, and he wanted to assist them. And I gave him my solemn promise to help him in that job and then in that dream. But I never saw him again. Months later, we learned on the TV news that Rocky had been wounded and captured. Over the next several years, Agnes and I prayed for his release. Occasionally, we heard vague reports that the Viet Cong were marching him from village to village for propaganda purposes. But our worst fears were realized when we learned he had been executed on September 26, 1965. I think I always knew it would end that way for Rocky. When we learned of his capture, I told my wife, I fear we'll never see Rocky again. Rocky has a spirit that does not compromise. He will not bend, nor will he break. They will just have to kill him. Later, we heard stories from the men he had been with in captivity about Rocky and his courage, his optimism, and his inability of the Viet Cong to break him. He was the commanding officer, or the ranking officer, the last, and he was the man that was subject to a lot of the torture and mistreatment to try to break him in front of his men. The last time he was put into solitary confinement finally, put in a bamboo cage slightly bigger than himself, and left away from his men, never to see them again. But when they were walking out, being moved to another location, they heard coming through the trees the sound of a man singing, "God Bless America." That example served as an inspiration to those men in captivity with him. I mourn my friend to this day. I also celebrate all the things about him that made him special. His belief in God was strong. His love of America and his commitment to West Point's code of duty, honor, and country gave him the strength to face the horrors of capture with bravery and calm. Today, when I think about all of the best of our men and women in uniform, I think of Rocky. I think of how willingly he put aside his own needs to serve his country. I think of his loyalty to others, his courage, his integrity, and I think of his dedication to duty and his deep sense of honor. I know that these values are replicated in the veterans and the service members around the globe, and I am proud of every single one of you. Today, you may have heard about the Education Center being built across the street near the Lincoln Memorial to honor all those who served and tell the stories of those who did not come back from Vietnam. We can learn so much from the stories of these extraordinary people. In addition to the tales of bravery and honor, we can learn about the person behind the uniform. My friend Rocky was an Army captain, a prisoner of war, a Medal of Honor recipient, but he was more than that. He was a boyhood friend. He was a gentle soul who loved children. He was a big brother who helped raise his siblings. Seeing his name on the granite wall behind me or reading his Medal of Honor citation fills me with pride for my friend's achievement. But there's more to the story. In the Educational Center, we can give visitors a chance and a glimpse of the promise that went unfulfilled in the lives of all those individuals who did not come home from the war. Today, as I look out on the crowd, I see so many of you who served in Iraq, Afghanistan, the Gulf War, and Vietnam, in Korea, and World War II. In every generation, there have been those who have put on the uniform, served their country, then come home and work to make America a better place. I know it is a huge debt to repay, but to our men and women in uniform, please know that today and every day, we are aware of what you do for our country. We know that there are personal costs. We know that the blessings we enjoy are safeguarded by your unselfish and tireless effort. And we may say to you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
The person he's talking about, Rocky, is also a graduate of the U.S. Military Academy, and we have some distinguished graduates with us here today, including General Mike Conrad. General Conrad brought with us the color guard from the 82nd Airborne and the 1st Cavalry Division. Let's give a big hand to the color guard. Close advisors, Bill Murdy is here today, the CEO of a major corporation. At this time, we will begin wreath laying, and while the wreaths are placed at the wall, bagpiper Chris Jackson will perform Amazing Grace. And the name of Chris's father-in-law, Marine Major Paschal Boggs, is actually engraved on panel 25E of the wall, and once these are actually placed at the memorial, we will be able to give you we'll be able to listen to taps.
What can I do? Hold on. He doesn't want me to move because he gets a slight shake and he gets rattled.
You got it?
Oh, yes.
So, Department of the Interior, National Park Service. Vietnam sons and daughters in touch as well. She's starting to walk right now. And they're followed by, on the other side, the 82nd Airborne Division. And take a look at some of these wreaths. You can see them there. It's the 1st Cavalry Division. There's a yellow wreath she's holding up there. That's the patch for their uniform. The American Legion is here. AMVETS as well. Move forward. Disabled American Veterans Military Order of the Purple Heart. They have a really cool wreath. And Paralyzed Veterans of America. Motorcycle Club is here. We want to thank them and Harley Davidson for all the help they've given us. The PTSD group of Washington is here. Operation Freedom Bird. These are the guys who fly up from Arizona to be with us once a year. and the advisory board for Verizon, and the 5th Battalion of the 7th Cavalry Association. They're sort of moving forward. 25th Infantry Division and U.S. MVMCE. The 27th Infantry Wolfhounds are moving into position even as we speak. And the 9th Infantry Division is here. Of course, the 101st Airborne would never miss a great opportunity like this to have a great wreath. The 82nd chapter. So these are the wreaths that have been placed at the memorial. So at this time, please stand as you are for the playing of Caps by Tech Sergeant Carl Swede of the United States Air Force. Okay, well, you can just remain seated if you like, mill around a little bit until the National Park Police Honor Guard has left the walkway area. They're sort of moving in position. But I know a lot of you, with cell phones and little cameras nowadays, you like to take that big shot and if it's a really nice picture, you can send it back to your friends and relatives back home. It's really beautiful. And that concludes today's ceremony.
Is that the gentleman who spoke last? Yes.